All right, we're joined now by Mike Hargrove, a member of the Cleveland Indians Hall of Fame, who skippered the club to its last two World Series appearances and ranks second on the Indians' all-time managerial wins list, just 7 victories behind Hall of Famer Lou Boudreau. Hargrove also had a successful playing career, winning the American League Rookie of the Year award in 1974, was named an All-Star in '75, and finished with a lifetime batting average of .290. Hargrove has also spent time in the front office and broadcast booth, and thankfully had a few minutes to share with us this afternoon. Mike, how are you today?
Good, Lane. You?
Not too bad. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, I touched on the massive success you had as Indians manager, but stints in Baltimore and Seattle weren't as prosperous, which leads me to a question I'm always intrigued to ask. Years ago, I spoke with Sparky Anderson. When I asked him about managing, he said, "Why is it that when they don't have the horses, they always finish last?" But you see folks like Lou Piniella, Davey Johnson, Buck Showalter, they win everywhere they go, so I'm not so sure it always is about the horses. How important is a manager to a baseball team?
Well, a manager, there's been talk all the time. I think a good manager, probably makes a difference in 10 to 15 ball games out of the 162 game schedule. In the win column, bad manager will cost you 10 to 15 in the loss column. So I think saying somebody has to drive the bus is a little too shallow.
Yeah.
It's the manager's job is really to get 25 players to give their best every night and look for that consistency. Get them in the right spots and in the right frame of mind and allow their talent to prevail.
Mm-hmm.
The stint that I had in Baltimore, and we had a lot of young players, and we just never could get it to work. In Seattle, we went from losing over 100 games the year before I got there in 2004, and then in 2005, 6, and 7, we got progressively better every year.
Mm-hmm.
So when I left, I think we were 12 games over in July is when I resigned in Seattle. So I think a good manager sets the tone, keeps the team focused, and is essential for a team's success.
Now, speaking of someone who won regardless of location, I mentioned your Rookie of the Year season, which came under Billy Martin for the Texas Rangers. What were your perceptions of Billy Ball as someone who played for and against Martin, and what, if anything, did you take from that experience which you applied to your managerial style?
Well, there were probably two, not to get away from the question, but I'll answer it this way. There were two. I played for 12 managers or 11 managers in the 12 years I was in the big leagues, and I took two managers that I really learned from and really used a lot of what they did in their careers in mine. And one was Dave Garcia, and his was really from the human side of it, the family side of it. And keeping everybody. Dave used to say his biggest job was to get 100% of whatever percentage you had to give that night.
Mm-hmm.
If a player came to the ballpark and all he had was 80% in, then his job or a manager's job was to get 100% of that 80.
Mm-hmm.
From Billy Martin, I learned, the tactical side of the game. I don't think there was anybody as good as Billy in the history of the game as far as the tactical side of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Billy, knew when to hit and run, knew when to, to do things, steal bases, squeeze, certain things like that. That really was amazing at times that he could get in the head of the other manager the way he could, as far as figure out what it was that they were going to do, and to counteract that before they had a chance to even get on even ground.
Mm-hmm.
Billy used to tell me the one thing I remember Billy saying is that the first 5 innings were the players. He let the first 5 innings the players dictate the pace of the game and how the game was going, and the last 4 were his. And then he started manipulating, maneuvering and manipulating pitchers. Putting on bunts and squeezes and hitting runs, and whether to play for 1 run or play for the big inning. So, those 2 guys, Dave Garcia and Billy Martin, were the 2 big influences in my managerial life, and I tried to emulate both of them, really coming from 2 different directions to get the same thing out of the team.
Now, there are 13 enshrined in the Cleveland Indians Hall of Fame, 6 of which were part of the '95 pennant winner. 5 players: Sandy Alomar Jr., Carlos Baerga, Omar Vizquel, Kenny Lofton, and Charles Nagy, and you as the manager. The Tribe did a lot of winning from the mid to late '90s, but that '95 club was on another level. When you think back on that team, what is the one thing that always comes to mind?
tenacity. That's the one thing. They showed up every night and played to win. And it wasn't just, we only played 144 games that year because it was of the 94 strike bled over into the 95 season. Mm-hmm. But we won 100 games out of 144, and those guys came to play to win every night. And if they didn't, they really took it to heart. I mean, it was a real special club. I think that if memory serves me correct, we only had, the longest losing streak we had all year was like 3 games. Mm-hmm. We had a tremendous offensive ball club. Statistically, when people start talking about the 27 Yankees and those teams like that, it always amazes me that the 95 Indians aren't included in that group, because statistically we were a better ball club offensively than the 27 Yankees were. So, it was just a special ball club, and they played to win. I mean, they just absolutely didn't just show up or made it in. They showed up and played to win, and were bitterly disappointed when they did. So it was a real special ball club in that regard. Mm-hmm.
Now, I can honestly say that Albert Belle was the single most terrifying hitter I've ever seen. And I got a chance to interview him actually last season, and it was a complete opposite, really, of what his reputation is and the way he conducted himself when we were speaking and whatnot. I'm just wondering, as someone who managed him for a few years in Cleveland there, what was it like to be around Albert Belle every day with that intensity throughout a season?
Well, really, I managed him when he was first drafted out of LSU. He came to me, and I was managing in A-ball in Kinston. Mm-hmm. And he came to me that year, so I was really with Albert the entire time. He was with the Indians organization from the, minor leagues all the way through the big leagues. Mm-hmm. And 2 entirely different personalities from his early years and to his later years. Mm-hmm. He did a lot of growing up as he went along, and I agree with you. Probably the most well-prepared, fearsome hitter that I ever saw at the plate. Everybody's always asking, who would you like to have at the plate when the game is on the line, the 7th game of the World Series? And my answer always is Albert Belle, because you knew that Albert, if he made it out, it wasn't because he wasn't prepared for it, or he got fooled on a pitch, or he just froze up and choked. Mm-hmm. Albert gave you a tremendous at-bat, every at-bat, and was absolutely prepared to a T to face whatever pitcher it was that night or that at-bat.
Now, it all began with Cal Ripken, bigger shortstops with impact bats, so eventually we saw Derek Jeter, Miguel Tejada, A-Rod. But it seems that as a result, the role of the diminutive defensive shortstop has lost its luster when it comes to Cooperstown, because their offensive numbers don't hold up compared to those offensive shortstops. Having said that, you managed Omar Vizquel for years in Cleveland, so I have to ask, for someone whose career was very similar to Ozzie Smith's, in my opinion, do you feel that Omar belongs in the Hall of Fame?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah, I really do. I'll be very disappointed if Omar isn't voted in on the first ballot. I think he's that type of player, was that type of player. He played, it seemed like forever. I want to say he played 20-plus years in the big leagues.
Yeah.
And was a star, darn nearly every one of those years, wherever he was. Mm-hmm. I think of Ozzie Smith. I think that's a really good comparison. And, I played with Ozzie. And Ozzie was a tremendous player. I think Omar was a better player than Ozzie. I think that you look at Luis Aparicio, guys like that the guy from the Yankee Scooter.
Oh, Phil Rizzuto.
And Phil Rizzuto. If those guys get into the Hall of Fame, then Omar certainly deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, because I think he was a better player. Shortstop is a very difficult position to play, and Omar was absolutely fantastic in the way he played the game defensively. And then offensively, as Omar got older and got stronger and got more disciplined at the plate, he became a much better hitter and fit into a lot of guys, a lot of people's lineup, and made the players around him better. So, yeah, I think Omar, without a doubt, will get in the Hall of Fame. It'll be a travesty if he doesn't.
All right, you topped the 300 mark 6 times in the majors, went through the grind of a 162-game schedule as a player and later as a manager. So when you see someone like Robinson Cano batting 71 points below his career average, do you see merely a slow start or signs of the Mariners' second baseman is on the decline at age 32?
Oh, I think it's a slow start. I mean, that's here we are in June. They're going to play through September and into October. There's a lot of baseball yet to be played. And the old saying, cream always rises to the top. I'll be terribly surprised if Robinson is not somewhere within 10 to 15 points of his average and 5 to 10 RBIs within his average.
Mm-hmm.
He still has time to turn it around. Everybody will have a down year. I mean, we're all human.
Right.
It happens. It just happens. And I think that given Robinson's track record, I have every confidence that he will turn out to be the hitter that he always has been.
Mm.
So yeah, I don't think it's any lack of anything of getting older and losing a step or losing a little bit of bat speed. I think it's just the fact that he's just gone through a prolonged time now. Especially prolonged for him to where he hasn't hit and performed the way he's capable of. But as I said, cream always rises to the top.
The Indians are currently in fourth place in a tough AL Central led by the defending league champion Royals. Does Cleveland have enough to make a run to get to October here still this season?
Yeah, I think they do. Whether they do or not, it remains to be seen. But I think they have enough to do that. There are weird things that have happened in baseball. We take the '95 Mariners and how they took the Yankees and beat them in a playoff. Mm-hmm. At the end of the year, the Angels, they beat them. They made the big runs. I think it was the Angels.
Yeah, it was the Angels in the regular season. Yeah.
Yeah, Angels. Yeah. So and then beat the Yankees in the divisional series the same year. Yeah, I think that they have enough in them. Whether they do it or not remains to be seen. But if they're going to do that, within this month, they really need to make a run at it and start closing ground at least to where they get into August. They're within 5, 6, 7 games of the league. I think they do that, and if they get hot, then good things will happen.
Now here in Minnesota, baseball fans have been thrilled with the surprising success the Twins have had to this point. I mean, we're almost halfway home, and they're still in second place. Uber prospect Byron Buxton just got called up, and Irvin Santana is set to return to the club for the second half of the season. As someone who's was watching this first half of the season, do you feel the Twins are for real?
Yeah, I do. I really do. I think Paul's doing a great job. Malter's doing a great job. His first year as a manager there. Minnesota has always been fundamentally sound as a ball club, from Tom Kelly through Gardenhire. They've always been. That's been one of their strengths. Is the fundamentally sound people they have, and I think their minor league people, the officer scouts, do a tremendous job. Getting players and getting the right players and getting them ready. I think they are for real. Now, whether they'll settle out, I don't know. You look at the Astros, and I would have thought by now the Astros would have started settling out a little bit, but they continue to play well. I don't see the Twins, reverting back to what they've been the last 2 or 3 years. I think they've got better talent than that, and I think again that Paul Molitor does a great job as a manager, and so I think they're for real. I know the Indians, think they're for real.
All right. Now, you were known as the human rain delay, of course, and though the stories are great and it's all fun to talk about now, your routine did help you to perform at the plate. With all the adjustments Major League Baseball is looking to make to quicken the pace of games, we talk of a pitch clock maybe down the road and whatnot, where do you fall on that with the duration of games? Do you feel it does have an impact on attendance and ratings? Because ultimately, I mean, we're really talking about minutes rather than shaving an hour and a half of a game. So do you really think it's as important as Major League Baseball is, kind of projecting it to be?
Well, I think it's all a perception. To tell you the truth, like you said, we're talking about shaving 20 minutes off a game instead of an hour. I think that any time that you do anything to artificially affect a ball game, whether it's basketball, baseball, football, whatever it is, if you take people out of their routines, I think that you're messing around with a fundamental aspect of the game it makes it what the game is. Now, people that inordinately take a long time, say a relief pitcher when he's called in from the bullpen throws 5 more pitches and then walks into the bullpen, things like that. I see that making a difference and drives me up a wall. But a hitter taking time between pitches. If you really look at how much time they take between pitches, everybody thinks that I took so much time between pitches, and I think it was a Baltimore broadcasting crew told me one night that they timed me and Eddie Murray between pitches. Now, Eddie was not known as being a slow between pitch kind of guy, but there was only 2 or 3 seconds per pitch to where I was slower than Eddie. So I think, again, it comes down to perception. And I think sometimes too much attention can be given to things like that and taken away from other things that can be done to speed up the ball game. I think it's amazing to me that we're the only sport in existence that has a captive audience for an unspecified time, and we try to get them out of the house as quick as we can. It amazes me. But I understand. I think it's all, for me, my opinion, I think it's all driven by television, and it's just again, perception is everything.
All right, now finally, you guided a pair of clubs to the Fall Classic, as we talked about, made 5 playoff appearances. You know playoff and championship teams when you see them. So if you had to pick a matchup right now, we're almost halfway through the season, which 2 teams would you put in the World Series, and ultimately, who would you have winning it all?
Gosh, great question. I would probably have to take Washington out of the National League. And in the American League, right now, I think it's up in the air. I really do. I think the Royals are playing awfully well, so I'll go with them because they've been there before and they've got a young ball club. They're enthusiastic and they play the game and they play it hard. So I would say the Royals and Washington in the series, and whoever wins it is a toss-up.
Flip a coin. I could take that. All right, well, Mike Hargrove, I really appreciate taking a few minutes to talk with us today. Thank you.
You bet, man. You be good.
All right, you take care.
Okay, bye-bye.